We have literally 70 to $75,000 worth of briefs just in two briefs. How much can you make licensing your songs? Well, I mean, can you make six figures? Sure, yeah. Just land two of those $60,000 briefs.
You're going to start learning where your music will fit. Those days, I was writing at least three pieces. I was writing at least one piece of music for each show throughout the day. So you don't have metadata on your songs are never going to be found.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I got my man Michael Elsner, who is like a hit songwriter for TV and film, guitarist, producer, and artist coach to so many artists and songwriters wanting to get into the sync game. Welcome, Michael. How you doing, brother?
Oh, buddy, I am so excited to talk with you. And we had a great conversation before we hit record, so I'm excited to continue that conversation with you.
Dude, I love it. Well, I want to jump right into it because between you and your partner Jody, you guys have just gotten like so many placements, whether it's like Avengers, Marvel, HBO, Netflix, Disney, Apple, ABC, and the list goes on and on. But I got kind of two questions to spark this off. If you were just getting started in the sync game, how would you approach it as a newbie? And also, how do you approach it now with all your experience and just who you are? Because I would think they would be two different things.
Oh, that's a great question, buddy. Um, so the actual process of licensing, that's where we have to start no matter what.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot lately, even when it comes to teaching, how I would teach this to like my son. If my son wanted to learn when he's 15, Dad, how do I get my songs on TV?
Yeah.
How would I teach him? What would be the direction that I would give him?
Yeah.
And it really is the same as what we do now. And if I can give you an analogy, if you've heard me talk before and you're listening, you've heard me give this analogy, surely you have. Really, licensing is a very specific process, okay? And it's just like backing your car out of the garage. Whether you realize it or not, when you're backing your car out of the garage, you're following a process. It's probably the exact same process I follow. It's the exact same process Chris follows, right? You want to open up the garage door, then you want to make sure there's nothing behind it. Then you want to turn the car on, and you're going to put the car in reverse, and then generally going to let your foot off the brake and just let it coast out of the garage. That's generally the process of backing a car out of the garage. You
Yeah.
really can't do it in any other order, or else you're going to run over a bicycle, or you're going to drive through the garage door, or something is going to cause some type of damage.
Yeah.
And licensing is very much the same. It's a very specific process. So whether you're brand new to it or whether you've been doing it for 20, 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
the process is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who are just getting started with licensing, even more important than the process, learning the process is simple. But the biggest shift that you have to make is you have to realize that sync is its own industry. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, the question that I always ask people is if you're a supervisor working on a TV show, what industry are you working in? Are you working in the TV industry or the music industry?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, the answer is you're working in the TV industry because you are working for the television production company, on the show. If you're a music editor or just an editor in general on a film, of course, you're working with the music as you're, getting it into the scene and properly seating it and all that. Are you working in the music industry or are you working in the film industry?
Right.
The answer, of course, is that you're working in the film industry.
Okay.
So when we're licensing our music, we are
Yeah.
no longer working within the realms of the traditional music industry. We're now working in the TV industry, film industry, commercial industry, video game industry, the film and video game trailer industry.
Yeah.
So we're
Our
working in it
avatar or our
really
customer is not fans anymore. It's not fans. It's not a label. It's not
correct.
radio. It is
A business.
TV. Yeah. Yeah. We're providing like a
Yeah.
product first that someone can use in TV and film.
Right. It's basically called a B2B business model, a business to business
Right.
model. Whereas the traditional music industry, when you are the business, right, you're the entity creating the product,
Yeah.
you are getting your music out to the customer. It's called a B2C business
Interesting.
model.
Interesting.
So that's really where it starts, whether you're brand new to this and this is the first time you've ever thought of sync or whether you've been doing it for a long time. It starts with understanding the business model is different. You are
Mhm.
a business serving another business, whether it's a television
Yeah.
production company, a film production company, an advertising agency, etc. So that's the first element. And then the second element is the formula to actually get your songs into the ideal client's hands. Ideal
Mhm.
client is the key word because just sending your music out to random supervisors is ridiculous. Because if they're working on a show and they're only looking for hip hop
Mhm.
and you just finished a heavy metal, heavy rock record,
Mhm.
sending your music to them, that's not serving them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to match, you want to pair up with the ideal client who is looking for the product that you have. That's
Yeah.
how you look at it from a business perspective,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
want to find the supervisor or the show or
Yeah.
the film or the trailer, whatnot, even the video game that utilizes music similar to what you're creating, and then that's where it starts. And
Yeah.
then, so that's part of the formula. The other part of the formula is getting them the correct assets. And this is a big difference here with the traditional
Mhm.
music industry. When you finish your record, you take it to mastering and you get everything sounding fantastic, and then you print it up to send it to your customers or sell it to your customers in whatever fashion you're going to sell it to them in. But then you're also going to take that final version, that final mastered full mix of the song.
Mhm.
And that's what you're going to promote to, for example, like radio stations,
Right.
right? You're going to send them one version of your song, they're going to listen to it, and they're going to determine whether or not they want to play it.
Yeah.
Whereas with licensing, that's not the case. With licensing, there are various versions of your songs, alternate mixes and stems and whatnot that need to be delivered because when your song is chosen, when it's found and chosen for a scene, it then gets passed off to the music editor who's
Yes.
going to cut up a 4-minute song into 30 seconds.
Yep.
So it's going
Yep.
to actually match the scene. And then that music editor is going to hand those assets over to an individual called a re-recording mixer. So it
Okay.
starts with the supervisor who secures the license,
Mhm.
passes it over to the music editor who cuts the song up and gets
Mhm.
it seated properly. And then that person passes those assets down the line to the re-recording mixer, whose job is to take that song and all those assets, which are generally going to be stereo recordings,
And
and
let's just
mix.
clarify the
Yeah.
assets there. Like we're talking like instrumental, a cappella, obviously the main mix, and then maybe the drums broken out, the synths, the guitars, like everything broken out. Cause like we just got an NHL placement and I was blown away how much they freaked it out and
Oh
like
yeah,
they really like changed it. Like
remixed it.
there's pieces like in my opinion missing. It was still
Yeah.
cool, but they really reworked it, you know?
So you bring up a great point because that's one of the elements of being a sync. I'll put the quotes around it, a sync artist.
Mhm.
Uh, the role that we play. Let me just finish. By the way, let me just finish the
Sorry,
final
yeah.
thought
Sorry,
so that
sorry,
we
sorry.
are all we don't leave any loops open here. The re-recording mixer then is going to take those assets and mix them with all the dialogue from the actors, with all the sound
Mm,
design, which is all the sounds of the car driving by in the background or the wind rustling through the tree leaves and whatnot. And they're going to mix that in one of various surround formats. It could be 5.1, 7.1. It could be the latest, of course, is Dolby Atmos. So when we say assets, we're taking an asset, meaning the song, which is typically going to be stereo,
mhm.
and we're going to deliver, in this case, as we'll continue with the stems that in your particular situation from your story, you're going to deliver these various assets, which is going to allow the re-recording mixer to take what is typically a stereo recording
Mhm.
and then throw it into this full surround field. So that's the very first thing that's crucial to playing the game of sync is that you're not following any rules of the traditional music industry. It is a completely different business. Now, going along with what you said, in your situation, which is very common, the song is going to be remixed to
Mhm.
fit the visual.
Yeah.
So you finished a song that, when we listen to music, we're just listening, with our ears and you can close your eyes and you can get the full scope of the song. So of course you have all those other little elements that
Yeah.
really enhance it.
Yeah.
But when you take that song and you put it up to visuals, there are going to aspects of the video,
Mhm.
right? Could
Mhm.
be the sound design, it could be all the little nuances in there, it could also be the dialogue that could possibly get covered up
Hmm.
by all those little additional elements that you added to the song that were so cool.
Yeah.
So what happens is the re-recording mixer pulls those out. And that's
Right.
why the final mix probably sounded a lot different than your mix.
Yeah.
And additionally, a lot of artists are
Yeah.
very, they hold their songs very dearly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's hard for them to give up any creative control
That's
of,
right.
I don't want anyone changing my song. I don't want anyone changing the mix. I don't want to do anything, anyone to do
Yeah.
anything to it. But that's going to be a very hard game to play and be successful
Yeah,
at.
you have to
You're
be
in sync.
comfortable with it. You have to be
Yeah.
comfortable with it because like they even barely used as much of my vocal as maybe I wanted. It was my song, I wrote it, that's great. But you know what still blows my mind is it still drove streams to the
Of course.
actual song on Spotify. It still brought fans in. And so it was still a nice a bump and obviously getting paid as well too. But
I
you're
want to
right,
share this
man.
with you actually, if I can, real quick. I just got an email. You bring this up. This is phenomenal. I just got an email from uh, one of our members in our community. His name's Luke.
Yeah.
He just got a League of Legends placement,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
you got a League
No,
of Legends
yeah,
placement.
we're probably in the same thing.
You probably are. And he said the tournament runs until July 12th.
That's right. That's
Ad-
what it is.
Additionally, this is what was amazing in his message to us. Additionally, I noticed a 2,600% increase in streams on
Yeah,
Spotify
there you
over the
go.
last 7 days.
There we go. That's on. Yeah, dude, it totally bumps it, man. Like I can see comments on YouTube, came here from MSI or came here from League of Legends or whatever it is. Because yeah, that's the exact same thing. We got two songs in that, which is great. And again, you gotta just as an artist, you just gotta let it go. And I think we should dive in and talk a little bit more about like what's valuable to my fans is different what's valuable to a music supervisor and writing for that. And can you maybe speak about like how you would even go? Like what's your writing process when you start to write a song? Do you look at a brief? Are you like just watching a bunch of TV movies and listening to what's out there and like, oh, I'm going to make a song like that? Like what would be your process for even writing a song for that right now?
Oh, that's a great question. So, yeah, I watch a lot of TV. And in fact, when I first started my career in 2000, and actually it's 1998 was my first year as a full time in the music industry. I was in the music industry before I crossed over into the sync space. And I was living in Nashville, and I was actually an assistant engineer. That's how it started for me. I moved to Nashville, and within like a week or two, I ended up getting a gig or just ended up becoming an assistant engineer. In fact, I believe that record back there. I don't that record that's actually on the video camera. That was actually that one. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That record that back there. That's on the video. That I moved to Nashville on November 7th, 1998. By January 1st, 1999, so within 6 weeks, I'd already worked on a project that ended up going double platinum. And then shortly thereafter, I worked on another record that went double platinum. But that was as an assistant
Awesome.
engineer. But one of the things, and I was working for a mixer, and one of
Okay.
the things that we did is we worked in a studio that had no windows, and
Mm,
we worked long days.
mm,
And up on the screen in front of the SSL console was a big screen TV. And all through the day,
yes.
we'd sit there and mix, and we would literally just look up and watch TV. It was always on mute, of course, but that was our visual attachment to the outside world because I usually show up and it would be dark in the morning. And by the time I went home late at night or super early the next morning, it would still be dark. So for me, I just was always used to watching TV, uh, going through the creative process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when I moved to Los Angeles in 2003, I got a gig playing guitar for a composer on a daytime soap opera. And it was very much the same. I would go to his studio, and the difference, though, is that I was now watching on the screen in his studio as I was playing guitar for him. I was watching the scenes. So I was
Mm,
watching playback. So I knew certain cues to hit, as we were playing to the scene, and it'd be like, when the guy turns around, do the big strum. Okay, da 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 da
oh,
da. There you go. So
yeah.
the cues became visual cues. And that just became a part of my creative process. And it became a lot easier as technology changed because back then, when I was living in apartments, I would have to run cable underneath the rug. If you've ever done that, that's a process. Or all the way around the room, because the cable would never be actually in my room. I'd always have to run it from another room, under carpeting and stuff like that. Of course, nowadays you just plug in a Fire Stick, or actually
Yeah,
now, TVs come attached to the web anyway.
yeah.
So really, a big aspect of the creative process for me is always having something playing. And when I started my trailer music company, and I started writing a lot of trailers. One of the things that we would do for those trailers is we would go onto YouTube and use various apps to be able to rip the videos off of YouTube of other trailers,
Right, right.
pop it into Pro Tools, take off all the audio, and I would just start scoring to
Hmm.
a pre-written, fully done trailer that may have been released
So
three
you'd
or
have
four
it
years ago.
playing and you have it playing and you'd start banging on just to see if
Yeah.
like it would be a good vibe for it. And like, would this work for whatever?
Well, because that's ultimately the medium, right? Like when I was doing the band thing and I was writing for a band and I was a member of a band,
Yeah,
I wrote in silence basically in a
yeah.
in a small room with the other members and
Hmm.
of course the focus is different because now the focus in that writing process is what is this song experience going to be like when someone's listening to it in their car driving down the highway?
Yeah,
That's a completely different result than when you're writing a song for a TV show. What is this song? How is this song that we're writing for a TV show? How is this going to translate to picture?
hmm.
And the easiest way to figure that out is actually to write to picture. So,
That's
you
wild.
know, if you like HGTV, then get a TV, put it up on your wall, turn off the audio, and sit in your studio, watch the show, and
Yeah,
believe me, it will inspire you
yeah.
to write.
Interesting, man. That is so fascinating. Sometimes I'll get a briefs or whatnot, and they'll send me TV spots. There's this one sports one, and I listen to it or whatnot to get the vibe. But yeah, I was also looking at it and hearing the cheers and the extra audio, and it's painting a mental picture in my mind. Okay, this is the kind of vibe, and it's so interesting because you know that's so different writing for TV and film as opposed to when I was touring 150 plus shows a year and thinking, oh, if we add these claps, I can get the crowd clapping live, or I can do some haze
Yeah.
and that'll be
Yeah.
good callback. That's for fans. Now this is like TV. Again, it's a different avatar. And
You're writing for your market. And that's a great
yeah,
example. Artists who do well, they write their songs
yeah,
with those call and response aspects because ultimately they know that the most important thing is when they're playing this show, either at a theater, a club, or a big arena, they want the audience to have that moment,
yeah,
where they're responding in the song. And so you build that in
yeah,
to the song. And
yeah,
and writing for TV, it's really the same thing. You're just writing for a different market.
yeah, yeah. What kind of songs do music supervisors, agencies not want? What do they not want? Let's go there.
I've never discovered that. You know,
Or
I
like they
don't
don't
think that
want to
there is a
hear kind of thing. Like what's like when I'm playing this song, like what's like a guaranteed like oh like skip like
well, I think that okay, a great example would be yesterday. My wife and I were at the park down the street with our son. He's a year and a half. He likes to go on the slide.
Mhm.
So we were down there, and this guy drove up on a motorcycle, blasting some rap, and every other word was the N word.
Right.
And I don't really know where you're going to find a home for something like that on TV,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so stylistically,
Yeah.
when you watch TV, you hear everything. You hear
Yeah.
everything from early 1920s jazz
Yeah.
to 80s hair metal to 70s rock to
Yeah.
50s, doo-wop to current electronica, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the show that you're watching. You hear
Yeah.
instrumental, you hear vocal. You don't really hear political
Right.
songs. You
Yeah.
don't hear stuff that could be
That's
stuff
too
that where you'd have to basically
polarizing.
have the beep going through it most of the time,
Right.
you
That's
know?
good. And and you just made me think, like, yeah, like, there's movies being made from the 60s to the now. So think about, and from every country, from China to
Yeah.
America and all in between. And so they're looking for, you never know. It just depends on what film is being
We
created.
get briefs quite a bit in our community for vintage tracks, and
Right.
they will say, like, not sounding like the 70s. They want songs that were recorded in the 70s.
Yeah.
And Jody, who I know you interviewed recently, like, he's always, when we're talking to people and someone will say, like, "Oh, I have this old record that I did," he'll jump in and be like, "So how when was it?" It's like 1983. Okay, so you have the recordings from 1983, and he's like, "Yeah." And then Jody will say, like, "Man, please reach out to me afterwards. I'd like to take a listen to this," because there
Yeah.
is a market
Yeah.
for that older vintage
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but really, I think the simple answer to it is, as long as the lyrics don't have to be censored,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's really going to be a market for everything. Now, the 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 deeper question is, what's going to get the most placements,
Yes.
right? And so, like, if you're writing a lot of 1920s jazz, clarinet, focused instrumental music,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to get as many placements as someone who's doing more modern pop, light rock, instrumental
Right.
tracks, a la like the HGTV style that you hear.
Yeah.
So the best thing that I can tell people is, when you're watching TV, and you should watch TV, if you want to get into writing music for TV, then you should actually watch TV. You got to learn the market.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're watching TV, take note of what you listen to. Don't
Yeah.
focus on the dialogue and the storyline. If
Yeah.
you're a musician wanting to write for TV, tune that out and
Yeah.
listen to the music.
Yeah.
And what's naturally going to happen is, if you are a clarinetist, all the clarinet music is going to jump out at you.
Right.
And you're
Right.
going to
Right.
start learning very quickly
Mm.
where it gets used and how it
Mm-hmm.
gets used,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've had
Yeah.
people say, like, I'm a trombonist. Does anyone, use trombone music? I have no idea. I'm
Yeah.
not a
That
trombonist.
instrument's not calling to me. It's kind of like, I
No,
own a
not at
white
all.
car, and so notice all the other white Corollas
Yeah.
or whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's so good. Me and my wife were watching Sullivan's Crossing, and we were noticing that the music was really, really good in that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Nothing that I think there might have been maybe one or two scenes that, could have worked. But then when we're watching a movie or something like that, and there's more of a trailer hip hop thing, I'm like, like, you know what I mean? I could definitely write something for that.
Yeah.
So it's like your ears lean into your style, and you got to be on the
Yeah.
lookout for it, right?
Yeah. Just because you like a show doesn't mean you have to be trying to
Yeah.
get your music into that show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's just not, that might just not be the one. So you hear a lot about artists making like six figures plus in syncs per year. Can you talk about that versus streaming? And I know in the Sync Titan community, you guys get a lot of briefs. Can you talk about what's possible?
It's a question that comes up a lot, and the real answer to that is it's really limitless. In fact, I look at sync licensing really as the great equalizer for independent musicians like us versus like the major label artists. We post briefs on a regular basis in our community, and it's amazing, because the biggest aha moment that people have when they first come in to our world, the real professional world of sync, is how much the sync world actually values songs. So they literally run anywhere from a couple $1,000s for just a little regular TV placement to tens and tens of thousands. This popped in just the other day, $60,000 all in. Just to give you a quick reference on this particular track, this is looking for a range of modern rock-leaning anthems that fuse style, rhythm, and control. You got to keep in mind that when you're submitting to briefs, these are not musicians. These are usually producers and directors and whatnot, right? So that's a $60,000 brief, really, for some particular rock piece. This other piece came in literally the same day. This is a ten to $15,000 license. In the last, was this 3 days here? We have literally $70,000 to $75,000 worth of briefs just in two briefs. So how much can you make licensing your songs? Well, I mean, can you make six figures? Sure, yeah. Just land two of those $60,000 briefs. Land, what is that? What is that? Like six or seven of the $15,000 briefs. You can easily make great money doing this. That's really not the issue. The main issue and the biggest takeaway that I learned when I first discovered licensing and I got that first life-changing placement was the difference in my approach to writing. Prior to that, I was writing for me, right? I was writing for my record. This is me. And then I had this realization of if I actually really want to make money at this and I really want to be able to do the thing that I love to do, I actually have to include the other entity in this equation, meaning the other production company or the TV show. And instead of thinking about writing it all for me, I have to actually think about how does this song actually work with picture. Now, the more that you can do that, and the more you can apply that to your creative process, the more your music's going to translate. And then the more money you make. So can you make six figures? Yeah, easily. I'm living proof. We have many students in our world who are living proof. They're not even students anymore. I'm learning from them now because they've been so successful. But I'll take it a step further. I have a friend of mine who I've known for years, and he's super inspiring to me. And he says if he makes less than seven figures a year, he's had a bad year. That's super inspiring. On the flip side, he's also a workaholic. And as much as I would love to be able to make that kind of money, when I look at his life and how he lives his life literally in the studio, like, 12, 16 hours a day, that's not the life I want to live. So I had to step back personally at one point and go, okay, what is enough? Right? What is that balance for me? And that's the thing that I think every musician's going to find that they have to do. They're going to have to find that balance. I discovered that because I pushed the limits for myself. I got into sync, things were rocking. I got offered the opportunity to write for American Idol. I took it. While I was writing tension beds for American Idol, I got offered the opportunity to write a cappella tracks starting with season 2 of the Sing Off. I took that. So now I was working on two shows at the same time. And then I got an opportunity to write cinematic bluegrass for a show, a very short-lived show called Sarah Palin's Alaska. And this is, 15 years ago. And I took that. So every day I was writing music for three shows. In addition, I was still playing guitar on sessions for various composers. There was about a 3-month period where I did not see the sun. And I ended up just getting very sick because I, burnt myself out. I ended up developing alopecia. It's where you get stressed and your hair falls out, stuff like that. I literally had clumps of hair falling out. And that was my aha moment of, okay, I've pushed the limits now. I'm too far into this. There is a balance that has to be made. And I think everyone discovers that, on their own. But when you do look at the briefs, and those are just two examples of them, this is an industry that values music. It puts a high value on music. So yeah, if you want to land $60,000 placements, you have to always be thinking about how your music translates to picture. That's the biggest aha moment that I had as a writer. The financial stuff will literally just lay itself out for you once you're able to do that.
So let's just say I've got 5 songs right now. I've got 5 songs. Somebody watches, they got 5 songs. Maybe they even have more, but they got 5 songs that they think are ready. What do I do with these 5 songs? Who do I go to? What do I say? What's the best approach to just, I need to
Yeah.
get these songs heard, Michael. Where do I go?
Yeah, great question. So that's the $1 million question. It is the first question that everyone asks. Who do I take these songs to? And it is 100 times or 100% the wrong first question.
Oh, okay.
The wrong first question. And the reason why that's the wrong first question, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the various deliverables and the assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the traditional music industry, that is the right question. I finished my song, I finished my record. I have these 5 songs, these 10 songs. They're mastered. They all sound great together on a CD, or I printed up on vinyl, whatever it is. The question now is, who do I send them to? Well, in the traditional music industry, you go, well, they're rock, so I'm going to send them off to the rock radio stations. I'm going to send them off to the people who review rock records for the various magazines, right? Like that's what you do because it's a business to customer relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
goal is to get that product in front of the right customer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in our world, it's the wrong first question. It's a
Okay.
question that's going to be answered in the fourth step of the process. Because what happens here in steps 1, 2, and 3, leading up to the fourth step, is where the actual value is created for the music supervisor, for the music editor, and for the re-recording mixer.
Okay.
Now, the second step, of course, the first step of the process is to write great sync-ready music.
Okay.
By sync-ready goes to what we were just talking about. You want to write music that can possibly end up on TV, right? You don't want anything that's overly graphic or needs to be censored out with the long beeps. That's never going to
Oh,
work
no.
under picture. So you need to write great professional quality songs. And as you listen to music more and more, I'm sorry, as you listen to TV more and more, everything that you hear on TV reaches a level that we consider broadcast quality. It's a very broad term, but broadcast quality is the level you have to reach. Basically, it means no demos, no out of tune, out of time playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So step one is to write great songs. And the nice thing nowadays is that everyone with a laptop has the ability to get there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The
There's no excuse.
DAWs are the same whether they're on your laptop or whether they're in a big, $1 million recording studio.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. Second step of the process, we call it the sync placement formula, is to create the valuable content. So once you've completed your full mix, whether that's an instrumental track or a vocal track, your full mix is that final version, not mastered, by the way. We're not in mastering. We're just
Okay.
literally, we finish the mix here in Pro Tools or Logic or whatever your DAW is, and we've burned that mix out.
Okay.
At that point, once we've burned that mix out, we are automatically in step 2 of the process. Step 2 of the process is creating the valuable content. This is where we're going to create the various additional assets or mixes that are going to be delivered. So
Okay.
we don't just deliver one mix, we deliver a variety of mixes. This allows the music editor and the re-recording mixer to really manipulate and get your song into the scene as best as they can. So you may notice when you're watching TV that there's a scene where there's no vocal. There's just
Mm-hmm.
an underscore.
Mm-hmm.
And this moment that the actors stop talking, suddenly the vocal appears.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how did that happen? Well,
Yeah.
it happened because the music editor had an instrumental track and a full version.
That's right.
And they played the instrumental track up until the actor stopped talking, and they cut right into the full version from that point moving forward. That's the power of having those assets. In your particular story, you shared how the mix was different. Well, that's because the re-recording mixer was working with the stems that you provided.
Yeah.
And they were taking various stems and going, we don't need that. We don't need those extra little jangle parts there. I'm just going to
Yeah.
get rid of that or whatever. So that's step 2. It's creating the various assets, alternate mixes, stems, and it's more than just an instrumental mix. It could be a cut down mix. It could be an acoustic mix. It could be a drum and bass only mix, right? There's a lot of options depending on the track that you've created.
Okay.
And then that leads us, once you've created all those versions, which really should not take more than 30 to 45 minutes
Yeah.
to let the system burn out, then you move in. And by the way, that second step of the process, that serves the music editor and the re-recording mixer. So very
Okay.
important to keep that in mind. Second step serves those 2 individuals that everyone always forgets about.
Okay.
The third step, once you've finished all those versions that you've burned out, you now are automatically in the third step of the process, which is the metadata process. Metadata is absolutely crucial. If you don't have metadata on your songs are never going to be found. And you got to keep in mind that when someone is looking for music, they have very specific requests for a particular scene. So, for example, if the scene is a bunch of, high schoolers just getting out of school for the summer and they're, down at the beach playing volleyball and hanging out and doing their thing, there's going to be very specific requests for that style of music. The director may want something that's a ukulele type of Hawaiian islandish kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Well, now the supervisor has to go on a pursuit to go through literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of songs
Mm-hmm.
and find songs that fit that request. So they're going
Yeah.
to use terms like ukulele, beach,
Yeah.
surfing. Maybe the director wants a female vocal on this, so they'll
Right,
type
right.
in like female vocals. So
Yeah.
they're going to type in various words into their database, and that's metadata. And so you want to make sure that you've described your song as thoroughly as possible because they're going to start with a million songs and they're going to keep typing in those words until they come down to 10 or 12 songs to choose from.
Right,
You
right.
want to be at the bottom of that search funnel as often as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. That's
That's
so
that's
good.
metadata.
And so where do I put that metadata? Like, is that when I'm uploading my song to like a music library, or do I keep a notepad of it? Do I attach that to the song on it, the MP3? Like,
Yeah.
what's the process of that?
So that's going to depend on what who's representing your music, and it's going to
Mhm.
depend on the platform that they're using.
Right.
So if you're just sending your songs out yourself,
Hmm.
then you're going to need to attach that to the actual audio file.
Okay.
You can attach that to the audio file through most platforms.
Right.
My favorite one to do that with is what was known as iTunes. Now it's, of
Yeah.
course, known as Apple Music on a
Yeah.
Mac. Uh, you can be assured that when you attach the metadata onto the audio file through that platform, that regardless of the platform that other supervisors and whatnot are using, whether it's, gosh, it could be like SoundMiner or something like that, uh, all that metadata is going to show up. And the reason why that's a good one to start with, this goes great too, by the way,
Yeah.
but the reason why that's a great one to start with is it's kind of like what Twitter used to be, where you had like 140 characters,
Right.
right? Like you could take a Twitter post and you could pop it into any other social media platform and it would always show up
Gotcha.
in its full amount. But back then, you could have a long Facebook post. If you popped it into Twitter, it would cut it off right at the 140 character mark or something like that. So this is the thing about Apple Music is you are limited with what you can put in,
Okay.
but you can be certain that when that goes out to other people, regardless of what platform they use,
Yeah.
nothing is going to get cut off.
And what we're
So
really talking about is keywords here. Like metadata, like should be another word for keywords. Like so we can.
there's
Uh,
more to it. There's
yeah.
more to it than that. So keywords are a descriptive form.
Okay.
There's more to metadata where you're going to have to add in the ownership, right?
Right.
So who owns the master recording? Who
Right.
owns the publishing? What are the splits? It's
Right.
the supervisor's job to reach out to all those owners
Yeah.
and and secure the rights.
Yeah.
So the thing that I was trying to
And that's a big one. Like you just made me think like that's why it's the wrong question. And the light bulb just went on for me. I hope it does for everybody watching this, is that, if I just go and hit up a sync agent and sure, they might add the metadata, that's fine. But that next one you just brought up is like the publishing, the master rights. If they ask you for that and you're like, oh, like
yeah,
it
you're
just
done.
immediately screams newbie. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, if you're like, what is that? Number one,
Yeah.
don't say that. It's like, if anything, chat GPT it, get them the answers and respond as soon as you can,
Well, this is Chris, this is the reason why, like we talked at the beginning of this, sync is a completely different business.
Yeah.
So obviously, like we have a program that we share and we teach, but and this is not a direct pitch into it, but this is why it's so important
Yeah.
because a lot of musicians, they've spent their life in their teen years and their 20 years in their 20s and even into their 30s buying all the music industry books, everything you need to know about the music business, all that kind of stuff, right? That we've
Mhm.
all owned those books and we've
Mhm.
all read them. The information in those books does not translate to this business. And
Right.
so if the straight up truth is, like anything, if you want to get into the sync world, you have to understand the business.
Mhm.
And when you're trying to play this game following the music industry rules,
Mhm.
it's literally like going out onto a football field, ready
Yeah.
to take a play with an NFL player, and you're wearing a baseball uniform. You might make it through the first play,
Yeah.
but by the second or third play, you're probably going to be taken off the field in a stretcher, right? You have a
Yeah.
300-pound guy landing on you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to feel good. It's because you're showing up to the game
Yeah.
playing by a different set of rules.
Yeah.
And we have musicians come to us all the time who are like, man, I've been trying to get into sync for so long. I've been trying to send my songs out and no one ever gets back to me. Like sync sucks. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't suck. You're just trying to play football
Yeah.
walking on field with a baseball, a bat, and a and a catcher's mitt.
Yeah.
It's never going to
A little
work.
different. It's different.
So you are going to get hit. You are going to get beaten. You're
Yeah.
going to get taken down, and it's going to hurt because you're trying to play football
Yeah.
wearing a baseball uniform.
Yeah.
So it's a great question, but it's answered in the fourth step
Okay.
of the
Give it to
process,
me. Give
right?
it to me. Give it to it. Give it to
Well,
me.
so metadata, let me just finish up metadata real quick. Metadata is the third step.
Okay.
There's a lot to it. Actually, when we teach metadata, there are actually 25 elements of metadata that go into the process. Keywords are just one.
Okay.
So that's why when it's like, oh, keywords, yeah, that's one. You're missing the other
Right.
24. Okay,
Right.
composer. Okay, now you got two. You're missing the other 23.
Right.
So there's a lot more to metadata because that's the metadata that is relevant when a supervisor is like right down at the bottom, finding
Right.
your song. But you got to keep in mind that your song has to show up in every
Mhm.
relevant search and beat out millions and millions of other songs.
Mm.
Now, if that sounds difficult, it's actually not. It's not if you have great metadata. If you
Right.
have bad metadata, uh, you will never get to the bottom of the search. So
Right.
having great music is key.
Yeah.
Having your
Lyrics.
various
Lyrics is
deliverables
going to be one of them.
crucial.
Yeah.
Metadata has to be so on point, or else the first two don't matter.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to the fourth step, which is getting it to the right people. We call it getting your music heard, but it really is getting it to the ideal clients.
Hmm.
And, a mistake that people make all the time, it's great because, Jody is a supervisor, so he's in the midst of it. And I always get to hear him and his various colleagues share their frustrations about it.
Right.
But musicians will go, oh, I'm just going to get online. I'm going to download a list of music supervisors.
Jeez.
And that's the equivalent of being like, hey, I just finished my rock record. I'm going to just, go online. I'm going to find a bunch of radio stations.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't know what those stations are. It could be a classical radio station. It could be
Yeah.
talk radio,
Yeah.
right? It becomes a waste of your time and theirs if you're sending your rock record to all the radio stations on the list,
Yeah.
where the reality is maybe only 5% of them can actually use it.
Yeah, like when I look at rock radio, like active rock, like mine would be for me, it would be active rock. It wouldn't be pop rock. It wouldn't be, college, sure, maybe. But yeah, it's doing your homework and knowing that they're looking for that style of
Right.
music. So music supervisors, the first thing that comes to mind for me is like, well, what are they working on? Look them up on LinkedIn. Look, what projects are they looking on?
IMDb, IMDb,
Yeah,
IMDb is
yeah.
is perfect.
Okay.
But even more so than that, this really goes to especially right now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the power of representation.
Mm,
Most supervisors right now uh, are very hesitant to work directly with new artists who are
mm-hmm.
getting into sync. Of course, sync is very popular for a number of reasons. The biggest of which is the legal ramifications that fall on them
Right,
if the artist misrepresents any aspect of that ownership.
right.
So, for example, a great thing right now that's very frustrating, frankly, in our world, is there's a lot of people online who are teaching musicians how to use AI to write your
Yeah,
songs.
yeah.
Hey, now you can use AI to, you basically it's like text to audio.
Right, right.
Give it the lyrics and tell it what you want, and et cetera, et cetera. So the and that's great. If you're finishing your song and you're sending it to a customer, there are really no legal ramifications for a customer buying a song from you that you created with AI.
Right, right.
Okay. The big issue here is that when a supervisor is licensing songs,
Mm,
they're licensing the master recording rights,
yes.
basically whoever owns the specific recording, and they're licensing the publishing rights from whoever controls the publishing. Those are also known as sync rights. Those are the two rights that get put into a folder called a sync license.
Okay.
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 So it's the specific recording of the song and it's the actual written aspect of the song, the music and lyrics. And those are different because you can have one song that's been written, that's been recorded by 14 different people. You'd have one person who owns the song. You'd have 14 different people who own the 14 different masters, right?
Jeez. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That
basically
gets
cover
messed,
songs,
and that
right?
gets yeah, that could get really messy.
So the problem here is that not only America, but other countries now have set the precedent that copyright is not being granted to AI generated works without what they call sufficient human interaction.
Mm,
So when you upload your text to audio, your text up into some platform, and you want it to spit back the audio recording of your song,
yeah.
that's a master recording that you actually don't own. You don't actually own the copyright to.
Yeah.
So, so the tough thing with that now is that if a supervisor were to license that, and there were to be an issue down the road,
Hmm.
the supervisor is the one who's on the line for it.
Yeah.
And no supervisor is going to put their home
Yeah.
and their family and their career at
Yeah.
risk for an independent
Just to
musician,
work with you because they like your song so much or whatever. Like it's
or
like
who
you're
doesn't
almost,
understand the legalities of the business.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what happens is they work more so with music libraries and sync agents. Those agencies, it's their responsibility to vet the artist and the songs. And additionally, it's those agencies that carry insurance. No one ever
Yeah.
talks about this. It's not the fun part of the business, but they carry what's called errors and omissions insurance. So if a supervisor like Jody was to license a song from company X
Yeah.
that it was discovered in a short amount of time for whatever reason, uh, company X actually did not, there was really no copyright ownership, or there was an
Right.
issue with the copyright,
Yeah.
that responsibility wouldn't fall on the supervisor. It actually would now fall back on company X.
Yes.
And in that case, company X's insurance would get into the mix, and they would have to cover any damages that are
Right.
caused by it.
Yeah.
So that's the other aspect of the game that's changed dramatically in the last
Hmm.
number of years.
Hmm.
And when artists are like, oh, I just want to get my songs to supervisors, that's awesome. That game ended a number of years back.
Right.
The way to get your songs out to supervisors is through representation, whether it be through a library, whether it be through a sync agent, and that's where the security is going to come from the music supervisors. Additionally, the other benefit to that is most of those companies use a platform, for example, called Source Audio to house their music catalog. And in the last number of years, the various editing platforms like Final Cut, and there's another one that I can't think of off the top of my head right now.
Pro Tools.
Uh, no,
No, you're
the
thinking of,
editing ones
oh,
for video.
Premiere. Premiere you're thinking
Premiere,
of.
yeah, Final Cut Premiere, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have plugins now where the editors can literally open up the Source Audio plugin, get direct access to Source Audio catalog, and literally start pulling music in
Wow.
that way.
That's
So
crazy.
so that's a super 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 easy way for your songs being represented by a library to land in
Wow.
a show without having to go directly always to a supervisor. And it really is kind of like that path to a supervisor is really a one-to-one type of path, whereas through a library or a sync agent, it's a one-to-many path.
That's
Um,
wild, man.
yeah,
Sourceaudio.com, so you can upload your music there and
that
like,
no, you have no, you have to have a subscription to the platform.
oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, and it's a very expensive platform.
Oh, I
That's why
see.
it's one of those things where like most libraries and sync agents are going most. I mean, any reputable library and sync agent is going to have it, but it's not a platform that most normal folks are going to be able to
I
afford.
see. I see. So one that I've used, just to upload and they, we almost got a Doritos commercial there was Song Trader.
Mhm.
They've been okay and they ask you for all the metadata, all the licensing, you know, all that stuff that you talked about. And it's been pretty neat. Um, you know, gotten a few $1,000 ones here or there, but yeah, they rep and then they take a fee for it, their administration fee, which is fine. But I guess that comes down to it. I guess the next question is
But so
not
the thing with Song Trader though is that there is no barrier to entry. Anyone
right.
can sign up for Song Trader, and so the issue with that is uh, if the thing that I always say is if the 16-year-old kid next door can get together with his buddies and record themselves
Mhm.
farting, throw
Mhm.
those into GarageBand, put a couple loops around it and upload it to a library like Songtradr.
Right.
That is not a library that you want to be a part of.
Interesting.
You want to be a part of something where there's actually going to be gatekeepers and a
A bit
standard of
more taste
excellence given to
making
the.
happening.
Pardon?
A little bit more taste making happening, not just
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it also makes it a lot easier for any supervisor who's going to go to that company or music editor who's going to go to that company because they know that they're getting a higher level of music.
right,
And
right.
this is just the difference between, this is a great example, by the way, Chris, because there is money, a lot of money to be made in sync.
Yeah,
So you say like, I made a couple of $1,000. That's awesome.
yeah,
A couple of $1,000. That is not a lot of money. That
yeah.
is not a lot of money
No,
compared to what the real sync world is,
yeah,
right? Now,
yeah,
people coming from the traditional music industry, they look at that and go, "Oh my gosh, $2,000.
yeah,
That's incredible."
yeah,
And yeah, because you're coming from the music industry where people don't pay for music.
yeah,
But when you're coming in the sync industry and
yeah.
like the actual high level stuff where the placements are like 40, 60, $80,000, we have placements that come through that are $500,000,
Let's
well into the
go.
six figures quite often. That's the game to play,
Yeah,
right? So $2,000 is awesome.
yeah,
That's not life changing,
yeah,
but that is awesome. And it goes to show how profitable and how active this industry is, even at that
yeah,
lower level like that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like that's not like life changing or whatever. And just to explain that, like that's a non-exclusive
Mhm.
place where, I could have it in multiple libraries. And, I've worked with a lot of different producers who, sometimes we'll go exclusive and sometimes we'll go non-exclusive. And it's frustrating sometimes because I'll go with an agent sometimes and it's exclusive. And I understand it takes time sometimes for a song to get, you know, traction or whatnot. But when I've signed it away, now exclusive, nobody else can rep that. And some strategies, I worked with other producers, they'll put it in a bunch of different places. I'm trying to remember some of the different
Yeah,
companies.
it's non-exclusive companies. Yeah,
Um, what's one that's not
like your Jingle
Marmoset?
Punks, Pond Five.
Yeah, there's tons of them, right?
Yeah,
What's your thoughts on that?
100% against. I'm 100% against non-exclusive deals, and I'll tell you why. When you sign a non-exclusive deal, a lot of people unknowingly don't realize that they have now forever lost uh, the rights to their song. Non-exclusive deals tend to be in perpetuity deals.
Mm,
And what happens is the moment that you sign a non-exclusive deal, you've signed away the exclusive rights to that song forever, which means that you can never get them back. That's the game that's trade-off. Is, oh yeah, but I can have like three different companies represent my song. Awesome. There's a problem here. And in fact, a lot of the bigger production companies nowadays actually have very strict guidelines with their team to actually, the legal departments, to not work with non-exclusive libraries. And the reason why is because a non-exclusive library will take a song and we're going to call your version of the song Sunny Day. They're going to take your song
mm.
Sunny Day and they're going to retitle it. And they might retitle it
Oh,
L1 Sunny Day, which means Library 1 Sunny Day. And Library 2 might retitle it Beautiful Day. And Library 3 might retitle it Chameleon. Like just nonsense. Okay.
but even though I uploaded it as a name, they'll still retitle it inside of their own
100%.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll tell you why. So let me give you the full story here. So the reason why they retitle it is because now they're going to own the publishing on that retitle. Okay. You're still going to retain Sunny Day. Sunny Day belongs to you. But Library One owns forever the publishing on L1 Sunny Day. Library Two forever owns the publishing on Beautiful Day, I think is what I called it. And then Library Three, Chameleon, right? And what happens here is that you have three different titles for the exact same song. Now, a music supervisor reaches out to libraries one and two. And this has happened, by the way. I was on a panel recently with a supervisor who actually said this. Is that they reached out to these libraries, and both of them got the exact same. So he got the same song from both libraries, and he said his words were, "I was praying to God that the producer hated this song, because that was going to create a licensing nightmare. You've been delivered the same song from two different libraries. Who do you license it from? Now you start this undercutting thing, right?" Additionally, the problem that happens, and this is something that I've also I'm a, I've had friends experience, so I've been in the mix, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
through the process of experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have platforms that just listen to audio, right? It knows when it hears a song that it is Sunny Day,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if they recognize it as Sunny Day,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's your version. And what's going to happen is they recognize that Sunny Day was just played for 2 minutes on a hit TV show.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the royalty for it. The reality is that Library One was the one who actually placed the song. So Library One should be getting the royalty for it. Now they're going to start looking and go, how come we haven't received our royalty for L1 Sunny Day? Because it didn't
Right.
go to L1
Oh, I
Sunny
see.
Day. It went to Chris for Sunny Day. So guess who's going to get an email or a letter asking for some money?
Yeah, like a claim kind of thing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of issues that come with it. Now, this became popular back in the mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely fallen out of favor, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of supervisors and a lot of actually production companies will not actually work with non-exclusive deals. So the other aspect of it, which gets missed along the way here, is that when you sign that non-exclusive deal, even with one company, you're signing over in perpetuity the exclusive rights to that song. Now, with exclusive deals, generally speaking, not all the time. This is where
Right.
understanding contracts is important
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and negotiating. But generally speaking, there's going to be a time limit and there's going to be what's called a reversion clause. And if there's not, you can actually negotiate one in. And if you're just getting started, maybe they won't give you one because you don't have
Yeah.
any weight to carry. But as you do, start having success, you'll have a weight to carry, and you can negotiate these in.
Yeah.
But when you go with an exclusive deal, you go with a 3 to 5 year deal. So I'm going to let Jason represent my catalog for three
Jeez,
years.
three
And
to
if
five
and if
years, man.
if,
Keep
if
going. Keep
Jason
going.
doesn't do well in 3 years,
Yeah.
I get that song. I can get all of those songs back, and then I can move them over to Mary, and I
Yeah.
can let Mary represent him for 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not just blindly going and working with Jason because he's nice to me. I'm actually going to do my research on him. I'm going to
Yes.
make sure that Jason's clients look for the kind of music that I look for. This is all the stuff that we teach.
Yeah.
This is why Jody and I teach this. We're so adamant that, listen, if you
Yeah.
want to learn licensing, if you
Mm.
really want to learn it, this is
Mm-hmm.
the stuff to learn.
Yeah.
What we're talking about now, this is the stuff that will actually make you six figures and
Yeah.
even seven figures when
Yeah.
you're applying it. This is the
Yeah.
stuff that people don't realize. They just want to finish their song and send it out.
Yeah.
That's a losing game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You learn the business, you
Yeah.
learn how the various deals are structured.
Yeah.
That's when you can come to the table in step four,
Yeah.
get it to the right people, and that's when you can set yourself up for success for the long term. And this is why licensing is its own educational field.
Yeah.
That people need to learn how to play the game correctly, or
Yeah.
else, and I'm always amazed when people are like, well, I'm not going to go buy a course. I'm going to save the money and send it out. And then they'll always come back and be like, I lost all this money. Of course you did.
Yeah.
Of course you
Yeah.
lost the money
Yeah.
because you signed a deal that you thought was good because you signed a non-exclusive deal. But when you dive into it, you realize you just literally signed away your songs forever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it sounded better by you being able to retain the original title.
Yeah.
But the reality is now, even though you retain that original title, you cannot exclusively license that anywhere. No publisher is going to take that up because there's another version of that song sitting elsewhere. It's actually not an exclusive deal anymore. That's
Interesting.
forever off the table.
So you can get
So what
yourself in
happens
some
is
trouble
is the
then.
value of the catalog goes down dramatically, and it's a very unfortunate situation that a lot of people just find themselves in.
Well, dude, like so valuable, man. I'm gonna put a link below to your guys' free guide, and also I know you guys are doing a master class, so I'll put those links below this. But you've really made me think even a little bit more, man, as well too, because it's just like, you want your songs working for you, and sometimes it takes a year and a half, 2 years until all of a sudden like it gets steam, and that's literally happened with one of my songs, and now the agency is literally saying we think this is a sync hit,
Yeah.
and it didn't happen overnight.
Buddy, I had
Unfortunately,
a song that I wrote in 2006.
Jeez.
Um, I remember when I wrote it actually. I wrote a song in 2006. It sat for 5 years. For five
Jeez.
years, it sat, did nothing. I had it signed over to a particular company, and honestly, I forgot about it. I moved
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Life moves on. In 2011, it got picked up for a theme song for a Saturday morning kids show.
Mm,
That show ran for 11 years. But in addition to the theme, they ran it as the bumper in between scenes and also in and out of commercials. And those are called occurrences. When a song gets used more than once in a show, it's called an occurrence.
okay.
So we had the theme, but then we also had between 11 and 13, sometimes even up to 14 occurrences per
Jeez.
episode every Saturday for yeah, 12 years. 11 or 12 years. I have to go back and look. Um, but it went from 2011 to like 2022. Um, and the song sat for 5 years.
Yeah.
But man, I'll tell you, it sure made up for it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
sync
that's
is a
and
long game,
yeah,
you know,
and
and it's one of those things where you have to get it, you have to expect that, right? If you're just
mhm,
trying to do a quick win, the quick wins always end up biting you in the butt in the long
yeah,
run,
yeah.
right?
Well,
So
like,
so
yeah, and I have a personal question because, like, I have my, oh, why isn't this logging in? Like, I used to think like writing like I don't know, I think I did 5 songs in a year or something like that, or 6 songs. I was like, oh, like that's, I've invested, I've really, gone the mile, and then I hear about dudes doing like 80. You know what I mean? Um,
oh, that's nothing.
and like I'm just like holy crap! Like last year, I think we did 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Okay, I did about 26 last year. This year I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, and I got another 12 that are in edit. So I'm already at about 24. So and I've taken a bit of a break. I told you took
Yeah.
a bit of a break, but like talk about like talk about it from the producer standpoint, the artist standpoint. Like there's like like I was writing every single day. I've taken a bit of a break because I'm marketing an album, but like talk about that and what it takes and the numbers game.
Yeah. So it depends on what the path is. You know, if if you are an artist first, if you are someone who every single song you write is going to be a vocal song, you know, and you're approaching it like an artist, as if you were going to, release a record of 10 songs and
Mhm.
whatnot. That process of writing those types of pieces is much longer and much more detailed and involved than writing an instrumental piece.
Mm.
So, for example, writing an
Oh,
artist-based vocal song,
good point.
not only writing it, I mean, like writing it takes days. I know that some people are like, oh, I do my 3 hour writing sessions. That's
Yeah,
that's your first draft,
yeah,
right? But actually, like writing the song,
yeah,
it takes days.
yeah.
And then in addition to that, there's the production aspect. And so those songs, just by their very nature, they require, unless they're like ballads and piano ballads or something like that, they are going to require a lot more in the production.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're writing vocal songs, if you're writing and producing a song a week and you're doing a lot of the work on your own, then you're doing great.
Yeah.
When it comes to instrumental tracks, those are fast.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll tell you, I had I'll give you a perfect example of this back a little over 10 years ago. I was writing for 3 shows at the same time. I was writing for American Idol. I was writing for a show called The Sing Off, and I
Mhm.
was writing for a show called Sarah Palin's Alaska, which was a very
Okay.
short-lived show. And for the American Idol, we were writing basically like tension beds.
Okay.
These are
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they're standing in front of the judges, just that nonsense
Kind of like
music.
build up.
Yeah. And then with the Sing Off, which we did for 3 seasons, we were writing a cappella. And then for Sarah Palin's Alaska, it was my partner and I, we were doing uh, what we called cinematic bluegrass.
Cool, man.
So every day, and these are all instrumental tracks. A cappella was no lyrics, but it was all vocal stuff.
Mhm.
There could not be any instrumental stuff. So it was all vocal, but really all instrumental tracks. Those days I was writing at least 3 pieces. I was writing at least one piece of music for each show throughout the day. So I'd start in my morning, I'd do the tension beds. Then in the afternoon, I would do the sing off and the acapella stuff when my voice was kind of warmed up. And then in the evening, I was doing the actual cinematic bluegrass with acoustic guitar and my mandolin and uh, my banjo and stuff like that. And uh, so that stuff you can crank out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Instrumental tracks can be pretty quick, maybe
Yeah.
2 to 3 hours per track.
Yeah. Yeah.
But vocal stuff is a lot. So it depends on what you're doing. Trailers are
Yeah.
very long. For example, like
Yeah.
we did a 10 song or 12 song trailer. One of the last trailers we did, that took 9 months. But at the same point, we also did I believe also a 12 song trailer, one before that, that took 3 months. So it just depends on how involved it gets.
Yeah.
One required an orchestra. So
Right.
we were writing not only our instrumental parts, like I was doing a lot of guitar based stuff and whatnot, but then also we had to hire an orchestra and then do that full recording. Whereas the previous one was all like 70s swagger rock. So that
Mhm.
was a shorter record. But, you know, pr production is crucial. The production has to stand up.
Yeah.
And to me, production's a lot of fun,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like that's where you're kind of like putting the puzzle pieces
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. You're putting the final glaze on it. And
Hmm.
what I've noticed as an artist, like I can crank out a lot of songs and come up with the ideas, and I can just hop from producer to producer, but it's them finishing it that takes the time. It's all that hours of,
Polish.
tuning the vocals, the
Yeah.
polish. And that's why I'm literally waiting on 12 songs. We just got one back a day or two ago, and we sent it to an agent, and they had a couple little changes, which are easy the producer will make. But like, he's like, yeah, it took me it took we I think it's been like at least 4 months me waiting for that one.
Sure.
And then we got a vocalist on it. We had to wait for her. So yeah, it does take time, but like I find as an artist, I can definitely hop around a bit more, but I'm and but this
You're
thing,
dependent on the producer.
yeah, I'm dependent on that. And coming from the artist world, normally it's like I pay a producer, but because there's no payment, it's just like we're 50-50.
Yeah.
All I can do is follow up. But like sometimes I don't want the rushed jobs because it sounds rushed, where other guys do take a little longer. But guess what? When I get it back, it's freaking, not only we're going to use it for sync, hopefully I can release it as an artist as well too, you know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff out there sync wise that sounds like the same stuff that's on the radio.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff out there sync wise that sounds nothing like what's on the radio,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's that other balance of, I always try and tell people I always tell people, I don't try to, I tell them 100%, you write the music that's authentic to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a mistake that I feel people will make as musicians is they'll get that shiny object syndrome and they'll start chasing the money. Now, I think that anytime someone chases the money, you've you're going to have a hard time
Yeah.
because the authenticity disappears.
Yeah.
And one of the things that makes music so powerful is it's an art form that you the authenticity just oozes out of it, right?
Yeah.
When you listen to a song, you know whether the artist is being authentic.
Yeah.
You can tell when you're listening to a track if the guitar player is into what he's playing, and it's like sometimes you can even
Yeah.
imagine them in the studio just
Yeah.
rocking and going to town on their part.
Yeah.
And other times you can almost imagine that same guitar player just kind of yawning their way through a
Yeah.
part. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of music,
That's
right?
powerful.
Like it
Yeah.
really expresses an emotion without having to see it. So when you take that and
Awesome.
you put it behind visual that's
Mm,
already on the screen,
mm,
that authenticity is going to come
mm.
across.
That's good.
Also, the fakeness is going to come across.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Good.
so the main thing is when you want to get into sync, I always tell people again, you got to listen to TV. You're going to start learning where your music will fit,
Yeah.
right? And if you have to ask, who should I send it to?
Mhm.
This is just the
You haven't-
truth. 'Cause people will
Yeah.
ask it, they'll go, who do I send my music to? The answer is you have not listened to enough TV.
Ooh.
You should not have to ask who should you send your music to. It's like
Yeah.
like me saying like who should I send my record to?
Yeah.
Well, that just tells people that I haven't been
Yeah.
listening to the radio. I don't know
Yeah.
the radio stations that
Yeah.
fit
That's
I
like, what
think.
Spotify playlist should I get? Well, look, who's playing your style?
Yeah.
What radio? Who's playing your music?
Yeah.
Dude. Well, that's why these people need to download your free sync licensing guide. I'll put the link below this video. And also, I know you guys got a masterclass coming up as well too, which is
Oh, it's gonna be a
free.
good
And
one.
I'll
Yeah,
put
it's
a
gonna be
link
a
for
good one.
you and your partner Jody. And so, dude, thank you so much for dropping so much value. I know this is gonna help a lot of people, bro.
Awesome, Chris. All right, buddy. Always great talking to you.